All right, welcome to CoronaCast 2.0 once again. I'm Brandon,
I'm Will.
and today we're here to talk about a rumor that's going around. You want to tell us that rumor, Will?
Yeah, I'll read about it here. This came out, at this point, probably a little more than a month ago. But the rumor is that for the 35th anniversary of Mario, that Nintendo intends on releasing or re-releasing a bunch of 3D Mario games. So it says that they would be remasters of specifically Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and then Super Mario Galaxy. It's likely that Super Mario 3D World may get its own separate deluxe style release. While it's possible the older 3D Mario games could come in a single compilation, it's also likely that Nintendo will release them individually as it did with its Zelda remasters. And also that there might be a new Paper Mario game this year that's a return to form, so something closer to the first one in Thousand Year Door. And then finally, that expect Nintendo to fill out the Mario celebrations in other ways as well. This could mean even more Mario games on Nintendo Switch, online subscription service, for example. I think also they were going to talk about the Super Nintendo World theme park opening up and the new Mario movie that's coming out, but I'm assuming with everything going on with the coronavirus that those two will definitely be delayed.
Yeah, which is fine. I'm fine with Sonic being the video game movie at the top of the video game movie pyramid
For now.
But yeah, like this is really exciting. I think mainly for me as somebody who owns the Switch and has definitely enjoyed it for like some of the first party games, but it's kind of gotten a little stagnant. I find myself getting things that are just re-releases, and while this is a re-release, it's a proper re-release because it's like their very own Master Chief collection. Because Mario is very much their gaming mascot, and he's got such a large presence in not just like the gaming community, but like he's a household names. Like every kind of person plays a Mario game at all different kinds of walks of life. Like men play those games, women play those games. So it's very fun. Even like adults and both children play Mario games. So to kind of modernize like those games, especially for me, them redoing Mario 64 is something that's, I feel, long awaited at this point.
It's the one that needs it the most.
Absolutely. Like, I think we even talked about, like, while I have very strong nostalgia, and I'm sure you do as well, that game is a little rough to look at, and even a little rough gameplay-wise.
It's dated.
Yeah. So it definitely needs, it needs a revisit in terms of a remaster.
Mario is the most iconic video game character, and there aren't that many 3D Mario games. I think that there's 7. And the first one came out, I think, was that 1996 was when Super Mario 64 came out?
Something like that.
The reason I wanted to talk about this rumor is that there seems to be some validity to it because a lot of pretty reputable sites talked about it or wrote stories about it. This wasn't something that just showed up on Reddit. Some guy who's like cousin twice removed works at Nintendo. It's totally happening, guys. I wouldn't say it's 100% going to happen. The reason I say that is because this is supposedly for the 35th anniversary of Mario. And Nintendo didn't do a whole lot for the 25th and 30th anniversaries. For the 25th anniversary, they put out Super Mario All-Stars on the Wii. And they literally just ported it. Because if you look at the screen in that game, there's a Super Nintendo controller that shows you the button prompts. They didn't even take that out for the Wii version.
Wow.
They just dumped the game onto a disc. It came with a little pamphlet and a CD with some music. So they didn't do too much. And then I think for the 30th anniversary was when Super Mario Maker came out, which is a big game. And so it seems like it's a lot for the 35th anniversary that they're going to put out much of the older back catalog of 3D Mario games and a new Paper Mario game on top of that. But it makes sense to me because the Switch has been such a great system for porting older games onto it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a ton of third-party developers put a lot of their older games, I would say, from like the PS3, 360 era, and more backwards there. And for Nintendo, it just is a perfect opportunity. They've never really remade many Mario games. I would say Super Mario All-Stars was a 16-bit remake of the NES games. Mm-hmm. And then they did Super Mario 64 DS, which is a remake of Mario 64. It has slightly nicer graphics, and they added Yoshi, Luigi, and Wario as playable characters in the game.
That's awesome.
But you also have to play it on a 3DS.
Yeah.
I think I didn't have a Nintendo, not 3DS, DS. Mm-hmm. I didn't have the DS, but I know the DS didn't have a circle pad, and that seems pretty essential for playing a Mario game.
Yeah, because of especially a 3D Mario game. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. So I guess with that we can kind of get into, each of the games in order, like what we liked about them and so on. So I guess we can start with Mario 64. And I know for me personally, to me, like, I feel like this is the game that changed everything. Like this was the first time where, and like I remember this specific feeling where I turned on the game and you could see the little cloud guy with the camera moving around, and they basically explain to you visually that you have control of this. Mm-hmm. And then like I looked right and I looked left, and I literally just felt like I could do anything. So I always felt like that was just such a stunning feature. And granted, it's definitely not going to have that same effect because now there's been 3D games for decades, but I would like to at least experience that love and that nostalgia in a modern system.
I feel like Super Mario 64 was the first playable 3D game. There were other 3D games before it, but none of them, the camera was always a big issue. And my opinion on Mario 64 is that it deserves its legacy. It was truly a groundbreaking game. Mm-hmm. It deserves that cred. Yeah. And it is still a fun game. Mm-hmm. I don't want to make it seem like it's not like GoldenEye, where GoldenEye, great game for the time, has aged horribly. It is nearly unplayable today.
The graphics they really need to be updated.
Yeah. And like I said, not a bad game. It's not like it was always a bad game, but by modern standards, the game is unplayable. Mm-hmm. For anyone who hears that and thinks, like, well, that's not true. Mm-hmm. Nostalgia. Yeah. I get it. You could still have fun playing the game, but if you were to sit someone down in front of that game now who'd never played it before, has no nostalgia for it, they would hate it.
Yeah, well, especially with how much first-person shooters have taken off in the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. Like, it would be very hard to sell that game to somebody who's played Call of Duty their entire life.
Yeah. And with Mario 64, it's still a fun game. It's still playable. It's still a good time. It's very dated. Yeah. It's not just graphically. The camera is tough to deal with in the game. It's annoying. It's
very... I don't want to say black and white because that kind of simplifies it, because it does have four directions. Yeah. But...
Very simplistic.
It's very simplistic. It's like you press, because you had the 4 C buttons which helped you control the camera, but it was like turn the camera drastically this way or turn the camera drastically this way, and like nowadays you have 2 joysticks, and that was probably the birth. Like that's where everybody got the idea for the two joysticks, because it's essentially like you had 2 D-pads on the 64 and 1 joystick in the middle with an A and a B button, a Z button, and R and L. So
who designed that controller?
It was different. It
is such a weird.
One of my brothers handled it very weird. He actually had both hands on either side of the controller. Like I think his middle finger was touching the bumper,
with a little Z thing,
and then he kind of controlled the joystick with his pointer and thumb finger, which I always found very weird. But again, when you think of controllers now, somebody picking up that controller might do something very similar. Like, how do you just ignore the left side of it? Like, the D-pad was pointless on the 64. Why was it there?
Yeah, well, to control the camera in Mario 64. And that's it.
Yeah.
After that, they're like, well, I guess we don't need it for any other game. Mm-hmm. I remember there was some weird thing I remember where depending on where the camera was, if you moved Mario with the circle pad, it was awkward to control him because if the camera was angled a certain way, the directional pad would change.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some levels in Mario 64 that are very frustrating to play through now because the camera and control can be awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Rainbow Cruise is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
The clock tower is another one where some of those later levels in the game
Well, a lot of the
are very frustrating.
Like all the sliding races in that game were really frustrating, and they played that farmer music. That wah, wah, wah,
I love that song.
Yeah, no, it was, but it got to a point where like I had nightmares about that song because I would fall off the edge of something, or I would accidentally stop and start running, and you're sitting there trying to get something in a certain time lapse, and any false move would see you not on your stomach, and it would be terrible.
Oof.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah.
It was one of those series that transitioned really well into 3D because you think about most older video game franchises like Mega Man, Castlevania, Sonic.
Oh boy.
Sorry, Sonic fans. Most of those games did so well in 2D to the point where when they make new entries now, except for Sonic, usually they're 2D games.
Yeah.
Because most developers, I don't think, really knew how to transition well into 3D. And with Mario, they changed it from getting to point A to point B, so you're not getting a flag at the end of the level. Now you're going into these big sandboxes, so you enter these different levels with a specific goal. You're collecting stars, and there are different things, different requirements you have to meet to collect the stars in the levels, which was a really clever way of reimagining what can this game be in 3D. Because with most of the 3D Mario games is generally collecting some kind of star, the exception of the 3D Land and 3D World, which play more like 2D Mario games.
Yeah.
When did you first play Mario 64?
I definitely played it. I would either near launch or around launch. I'm pretty sure me and my brother got it for Christmas. My brother was like a huge video game head. Like I was in single digits in terms of age, so it's not like I was, researching this stuff. And the internet is nothing of what it was, or nothing of what it is today. So it's not like IGN.com was, fleshing all this stuff out for us. So, like, my brother was just really good about looking into stuff, and he was like, we have to get the N64, we have to get the N64.
Yeah.
And, so we got it, and obviously Mario was a launch game, and there were a few other titles as well that we got. But, yeah, I remember, like, again, like I told you, that moment when I could turn my head, and I understood why he stressed getting the system and then also that game, and it just felt so interesting. Like you mentioned, the sandbox element, it was surprisingly worth exploring that game. When you think about how many modern games have like that sandbox element, but then like exploring it is kind of a waste of time. Like even just like, oh, this is interesting. Why is this coin red? And you collect one red coin, and it makes a certain note, and then you collect the next one, and the note gets even higher, and then you connect the next one, and it creates a star, or it creates another side mission, like a deeper, like they had like all the hats and stuff, because like they did take out the flowers.
Yeah,
right. They took out the flowers and the power ups and the mushrooms and the 1-ups.
Well, the stars used to be invincibility, so the stars completely changed roles in this game.
Yeah.
Where they're now just these collectibles that get you through to new levels because you need a certain amount of stars to unlock different parts of the hub world. So the hub world is Peach's castle. And even in the castle, you can find hidden stars.
Yeah.
It's a game that encourages exploration over going from point A to point B. So I think focusing on the exploration part of it is what made the game so great, was really changing what a Mario game can be. And the game is very well designed, even if the camera and controls betray you at times. It's a very well designed game. All of the areas, some of them are frustrating, like I mentioned before, but they're all fun visually. I mean, the game obviously is going to look dated graphically. It still looks colorful and fun. But this is the 3D Mario game that needs a remake the most. I was talking to you before about the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro remix they did. And I don't really want to talk about... I haven't played the Spyro ones, but I do have the Crash one. And having something like that for Mario 64 would be amazing. I kind of feel like Nintendo's not going to do that. I would imagine if these rumors are true, it might just be the game at a higher resolution. Like it'll be in HD, or it's not going to be in 4K because I don't think the Switch is capable of that. I really wish they would do a ground-up remake of this game because it needs it the most. Not just a graphical overhaul, but just fixing the camera system in the game. I think the game gets a pass.
Yeah.
It's a very early 3D game.
Yep.
Very, very early. They were still figuring it out. It was the first game that really figured it out in a sense. But at this point, the game's almost 25 years old.
Yeah.
And it's going to be dated.
Well, I guess
so the camera system needs an overhaul.
To that point, I guess what would you say were the biggest limitations of it? And I guess what would you want? Like you said, like if you wanted a ground-up remake, like how would you want that done? Like based on like what limitations you thought that the old one had?
I mean, I would love a graphical overhaul. I think that would look amazing. You know, just seeing... Some of those levels are so iconic, like in your head, you just remember them. Being able to see them reimagined with graphics akin to Mario Odyssey would be amazing. And implement the new camera system in there. The camera is the biggest thing that holds back Mario 64 to me. I think if I had to make like a power ranking of my favorite Mario games, I would not put Mario 64 in my top 5 because I like the game. I think it's fun, but in terms of Mario games I want to go back and play, it just really hasn't aged well. And I feel like games like Super Mario World, Super Mario 3 are older games, they're 2D Mario games, but they've aged a lot better than Mario 64 has because there are just certain design elements of most 3D games from that era that now are very dated and make games unplayable. It's not a problem just with this game. It's a problem with a lot of N64 and PlayStation games for that matter. Then most of them have not aged super well. Some of them are still, like, they're still good, but I would like to see the camera system redone. And I guess I've never played Mario 64 DS, but that game did introduce having Yoshi, Wario, and Luigi as playable characters. I think they got rid of the hats, and I think that the Flying Cap, Metal Mario, Invisible Mario, I think some of those are relegated to certain characters in that game. So you have to play as Yoshi to do a specific thing in this level, or you have to play as Luigi to do this. I'm not 100% on that.
Was Yoshi his own character?
Yeah.
Huh.
You start the game as Yoshi.
Huh.
Yeah. You have to unlock Mario, Wario, and Luigi in the game.
That's interesting.
So I can't speak on everything they added to that game because I've never played it, but I have a good idea of what they did with it. So I think it's not out of the cards for them to do something like that because they've never really remade a Mario game. I say with the exception of All Stars, which is the 16-bit upgrade, and the 64 DS. Apart from that, they've never remade a Mario game, but they've done it with Zelda. So I was thinking about that the other day where it's like, well, they don't really remake games, but then I was thinking about like, yes, they do. Because with Zelda, they did remakes for Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask for 3DS. They did a remake of Wind Waker for Wii U. I think they built it from the ground up because it looks like more than just an HD upgrade. They did an HD port of Twilight Princess, and recently they fully remade Link's Awakening. So they've done it with Zelda multiple times. They remade the Metroid game for Game Boy. I think it was Metroid 2, Samus Returns they remade. This is a game that needs it. And it is one of the most iconic Nintendo games. It's by far, maybe apart from Ocarina of Time, the most iconic N64 game. Yeah. Well, I guess maybe Smash Brothers and GoldenEye, but yeah. I would say that it was the game that sold that system. And even though PlayStation outsold Nintendo by a mile and then some. I would say the N64 still did well, and it was probably because people saw that game. They saw that screen where you saw the big floating Mario head that you could stretch around. And
so many memes from that, too.
And Mario has a voice, and it's funny when you watch all the old Mario cartoons and everything before Mario 64. Mario who sounds like a guy from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And this game's like, it's Mario. Yeah. Wahoo!
So, yeah, I guess... For me,
what would you want?
Yeah. For me, the greatest limitations were definitely some of the graphical things, but I always wanted to. I always wanted to ride Yoshi. I always found it ridiculous that, like, I understood and appreciated that they replaced the power-ups with hats. Like, I found that very fun and a nice new twist on things. Like that, you could fly in that game. You could fly.
That's one thing I think about now. That flying hat was hard to control.
Yeah, it was very hard to get. And they would obviously have to fix that. But again, like, you think about how long since then it took you to be in a game where you're, like, there's a part where you're running around and jumping and stuff. But then there's another part where you're flying around and controlling a character. So, like, I always found that really refreshing. And then I like that the metal hat changed your physics a lot. And I like that the invisibility thing wasn't the best power up. I would put it as one of I think it definitely goes Metal Mario, Flying Mario, and then Invisible Mario. But I remember wanting, because like there's that part where you get all the stars, and then you get on top, and like that cannon opens up and shoots you on top of the castle, and then Yoshi's there and he gives you that extra jump, and I'm sitting there like trying to get on top of Yoshi. I'm like, why do you need an extra jump when you could just ride Yoshi?
Yeah, what a tease. They include him in the game as the completion bonus. You get all the stars, and Yoshi's like, oh, here I am.
Here's a
Thanks
jump.
for playing the game.
Yep, and here's it. Like, I honestly wish that the power-up was riding on him.
Like, that's it.
Yep.
Go home.
Because then you could, replaying the game riding on Yoshi would have made, like, replayability. Like, I'm going to get all the stars with like a Yoshi that can jump like ridiculously high, or maybe Yoshi could run up walls or something crazy like that. Like I think like the biggest limitation, and the fact that you couldn't play as Luigi or anything like that.
That was always a big rumor, was that Luigi was
secretly somewhere
in the game. He's not.
He isn't. But yeah, like what I would want in a remake, like I think it's awesome that they went so far as to include Wario as well. But yeah, if you were going to go ahead and include Wario, then in remake, since they already did that, Waluigi. Absolutely Waluigi. Absolutely Waluigi. Waluigi, Wario, Mario, and Luigi, and then don't make Yoshi playable. You get to ride Yoshi as a power-up, and like again, you can do ridiculous things with him, and maybe you have it where you have to beat the game first before Yoshi's unlockable.
Yeah.
But yeah, like adding Yoshi to the game would really like change it in a very fun and interesting way.
I get the impression that if they were to do this full-on remake, it'd be closer to the N64 one than the DS one.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that they do this. I hope it's not just an HD port of the game.
Yeah.
Because I think they would really blow people's minds if they did a full-on remake of this game. It's really, of the 3 games that they have speculated are going to come out, it's the one that really needs it. Mm-hmm. Sunshine and Galaxy, especially Galaxy, doesn't need a remake.
Yeah.
It just, if it's in HD, that's great, but there's really nothing they need to do to that game. Or really we'll get into Sunshine, but I think at least graphically both those games still look pretty good, so they don't really need to do much to them. I would imagine, I think it would be cool if they made this announcement, because they were mentioning that it would be a part of some collection. I don't think that that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. I think it would make more sense for them to release them individually, maybe throughout the year. Like if they announced it in June, because there's no E3, but if they announced it in June, be like Mario 64 is out today, and then in the fall, around September, we'll put out Sunshine, and then the winter we'll put out Galaxy. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they're going to make it a compilation, but I think if they wanted a really strong game to come out, a full remake of Mario 64 would drive fans nuts.
That, and yeah, like I know I mentioned like what I would also put back in the power ups, so you get like the Fire Mario, and then like you know how like I wouldn't necessarily have it when you get hit you shrink, but I would love a giant mushroom, but like it would need to be on certain levels, because there's certain levels that it absolutely wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But like say for like that desert level, like where there's a lot of open space, if you have a giant Mario and you're still able to do a lot of like, and you could even give it the metal physics where you're definitely heavier, but then you're a giant Mario, so you're just stepping on things and being ultra powerful. Like that would be really cool too.
They have that in a Mario 3D World.
Yeah, giant Mario.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's
well, they also, I mean, don't they have that also in like
the new Super Mario Brothers game
and Mario Maker as well? Is that in Mario Maker?
I think in the second one it is.
Okay.
I don't think it's in the first one.
Okay.
But that, I mean, a remake would be great. Obviously, that game has been re-released many times on Nintendo's systems. It was available on the Wii and the Wii U.
Yeah.
And considering that none of the N64 games really are available on the Switch at this point, I think it would make sense to put that game out on there. I mean, that's the thing I don't understand, is that they had the virtual console for the Wii and Wii U. They don't have it now, which is fine. I like the subscription model. But Nintendo has such a huge back catalog. The Switch is such a success as a system.
Yeah.
Nintendo is sitting on a gold mine, and so far they've put out a handful of NES and SNES games, which isn't very exciting anymore, because them saying, oh, you could play Super Mario Brothers again. Super Mario Brothers has been available on everything Nintendo has put out since 2006.
But then they came out with the new ones too, so like it's like we have a better version of this on our current systems.
Yeah, they don't even have Super Mario All-Stars on the subscription service. If anything, I think that version of Mario 3, the 16-bit part, is the definitive version. Super Mario 3 is a great game. That game's color palette on the NES is ugly. It looks so ugly and dated at this point, and it's like, put out the better version of this.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for? Especially if you're just putting out all of your Super Nintendo games on a subscription service. Why not? That leads me into Mario Sunshine. That might be a weird segue, but the reason I think a lot of people would be excited about Mario Sunshine being put out is that game has not been made available since the GameCube. Most Mario games in some way, shape, or form have been re-released or made available on their newer consoles.
Yeah.
I think this one, I mean, games like Super Mario 3D World are only on the Wii U. New Super Mario Brothers Wii is only available on the Wii, but those are also more readily available systems, and we'll get to it later on, because another part of the rumor was they're going to port 3D World onto the Switch, which I think will happen. Even if these rumors end up being totally false, I think that they will at least port 3D World to it at some point. But Mario Sunshine has not been made available since it came out for the GameCube, and I would honestly say it's my least favorite 3D Mario game. But I like all of them. Even my least favorite 3D Mario game is still a very good game in my book. They're all quality games. Nintendo puts a lot of care and attention into making these, and it's a very unique Mario game. None of the other ones play like this game does, with the water jet. I like the setting of it, because it's not set in the Mushroom Kingdom. You're on a Isle Delfino, you're on a tropical island, and you have those weird pinata people talk like like whenever, like, it's scrolling text when they talk, like have you ever played Mario Sunshine?
Well, no. So yeah, I was gonna mention that. So I've never actually played Mario Sunshine. To me, I don't know what it was about how it looked. I was like, it's not it, like, because I was honestly waiting for Mario 64's sequel to come out, and I was waiting for it to be, Mario GameCube or whatever they were going to call it. And yeah, they came out with Mario Sunshine, and it felt like, and obviously this wasn't a thing at the time, but like comparatively when you think about stuff now, it kind of felt like DLC to Mario 64. Like, here's a kind of side mission that doesn't really have to do... Like, is Bowser the villain?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, it kind of felt like a side story to, like, the main Mario story where, like, the Mushroom Kingdom wasn't at stake, so it was...
No.
It was just like, oh, you're going to help clean up the earth. And, like, that's actually, like, a really good message for kids.
It is, but the thing with that, the story is unique at first. Mario gets framed for trashing this island.
Oh, that's...
He gets arrested and put in jail.
Oh, my God.
And he has to clean the island. And then about, I'd say like an hour or so into the game, because there's an imposter Mario. And then you find out imposter Mario is Bowser Jr.
Oh, that's cool.
I think this is the first game that he's in. And then he kidnaps Princess Peach, and then the goal of the game is to save Princess Peach.
Oh, wait, so Bowser Jr.'s the villain.
No, Bowser's still the villain.
Oh,
They're
okay.
both in it. So that to me was kind of a cop-out, that they make it a new storyline for Mario. Like, oh, Peach isn't going to get kidnapped in this one.
It's like, oh,
never mind, she got kidnapped.
And they actually could have done that.
Yeah,
they could have done it. It was
they
too
ditched
scary. It was
real
new
quick.
territory for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I like about the GameCube. The GameCube has such unique Nintendo games because I love the newer Mario games, but all the Mario games play it relatively safe in terms of presentation and style. I would say the same with Zelda and other top tier Nintendo franchises. They generally don't stray too far, maybe with the exception of Breath of the Wild, which was very different.
Yeah.
But with the GameCube, you had a game like Metroid Prime, which is a first-person Metroid, completely different from what came before. You had Wind Waker with a drastically different art style, sailing around in a boat. You had Mario Kart Double Dash, where you had two people in the cart.
Yeah, that was cool.
Nintendo is at peak creativity at this time. They did really interesting, unique things with their franchises. With Mario Sunshine, I respected that it's very... Thematically, it's very different. The water jet really changes around the gameplay. There's a couple nozzles you can use. So you could spray to clean up sludge and take out certain enemies. You can hover. There's one that gives you like a boost of speed. And then there's one that'll just shoot you up really high. I know there's some people that have problems with that. And the other thing I would say, too, is that the camera in this game also kind of sucks, and it's a little less excusable with this game because at this point...
they had the two joysticks.
Yeah. So the camera could be annoying, and there were certain objectives, I remember. There are just certain levels where you can make one misstep or you can not make one jump, and the game was very unforgiving. Like, you would be very high up.
So you're climbing something, you fall all the way down.
And then you got to start all over again. So
I feel like that's just Mario games for you. Like, in a lot of ways. Like, I get... Like, they've made it... In later games, they've definitely made it so you could kind of get around that.
Yeah.
If you were clever.
I mean, Sunshine 64 are both way more unforgiving than newer Mario games. Like, I wouldn't say
even
there's any part of Galaxy that's
the
unforgiving.
original Mario games were somewhat unforgiving. Like, if you... Like, because I felt like those games kind of... I don't know if they invented speed running or speed runs, but, like, yeah, those games were very much meant to be played. Like, you had to have played the level before to get through it.
Yeah, well, they had, like, the warp pipes in the first Mario. I think some of those games are unforgiving just because that's the way video games were at the time.
Yeah.
You really didn't have a save feature in earlier games, and because there's no content apart from what the main game is, it has to be difficult because that's the replay that keeps you coming back is that the game is difficult.
Yeah.
And finding those secrets is a lot of fun. So I remember there are other moments in Mario Sunshine 2 where there's platforming stages where your jetpack or your water pack gets taken away. I think it's called the Flood in the game.
Okay.
And those are sections where you're in this weird space. Like, you're not even in the tropical setting. It's like these kind of trippy landscapes. And you had like a platforming marathon or like a platforming stage. And those stages were a lot of fun, but also the camera could be really frustrating and annoying to deal with in those stages too. But it's the camera system is definitely not as finicky or dated as the one in Mario 64, and I feel like if they were to put out the game on the Switch. I just think it would be maybe an HD upgrade. I can't imagine that they would really change too much with the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it's this weird black sheep of the 3D Mario games, and it hasn't been made readily available now in almost 20 years because the game came out in 2002. So I mean, it's 18 years old at this point, and I think that one makes the most sense to me that they would re-release just because it's part of Mario's history, and it hasn't been out in a very long time. It's never been available on anything else other than the GameCube. And the GameCube games are always the most requested for a virtual console style release, and I feel like the reason Nintendo doesn't do that is that they know they could probably sell those games individually. They could make some kind of remake or remaster and get full price as opposed to putting it out either on the Switch's subscription service and just not getting the revenue, whereas making remakes of these games makes sense.
Yeah, so I guess you kind of gotten into definitely the missteps of the game. In a perfect world where they were definitely gonna remake it from the ground up, what would you add?
I would make some of those challenges more forgiving, and same thing as 64, work on the camera.
Yeah,
but Yoshi is in Mario Sunshine,
and you ride him, and does he have any special abilities that help clean up the environment as well?
He shoots acid.
Oh, what?
He throws up because your Yoshis are different colors in the game.
Oh, that's awesome!
It's not just green Yoshi.
That's great.
So I think they spit acid, and I think sometimes that's to correspond to the color of a certain thing. I haven't played the game in a couple of years, but
are they elemental?
Not really.
Okay.
I would say that apart from the spitting, the acid spitting, whatever they're spitting out of their mouths, there's not that much to it. Other than that, they can jump higher. That's always been a Yoshi thing, but he is in the game because he wasn't in Galaxy. He was in Galaxy too.
Yeah, we can get to Galaxy, and so I guess not having played the game, but based off of what you've told me, Luigi's not in it, right?
No.
And I'm always gonna go with add more characters.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a really fun twist if Luigi had his blunderbuss from Luigi's Mansion instead of the
jetpack or the water pack.
Instead of the water pack, he can still have the jets and stuff. I would have his stuff work differently, whereas Mario kind of splashes things away. Maybe Luigi just has a vacuum, and he kind of cleans it up that way. So whereas Mario's kind of pushing stuff out and washing stuff away, Luigi kind of sucks stuff in and cleans up the environment that way. And you could even make it that the more stuff he inhales, the more powerful his jetpack is. And this is me just spitballing again. I've never played the game.
I really like his two other things. I would say I like the hub world a lot more in this game than I like in 64 because the hub world is Delfino Plaza. The game structurally is very similar to Mario 64. You have a hub world where you go to these other sandbox type levels. You're collecting shine sprites in the game instead of stars, but it operates the exact same way. There's a set 7 or 8 different goals per level.
Yeah.
So I really like the plaza because the more shine sprites you get, the brighter and more sunny and summery it becomes.
That's cool.
So you see the world change, and same as 64, there are hidden shine sprites within the hub world. One thing I hated about the game is the final boss fight with Bowser because it takes place in a giant bathtub. Yeah.
Okay. What? I don't even know what question to follow that up with. Why?
Just watch it on YouTube. It's
Is it supposed to be a giant metaphor for getting clean?
Maybe it's Bowser on vacation because it's not a hot tub because I specifically remember there being bath toys in the big tub.
You know what that reminds me of? Did you ever... I don't remember the name of the game exactly, but do you remember that NES game where you were the 7-Up chip or something? Not the chip.
It was a Sega Genesis game. The 7-Up mascots with the sunglasses.
And everything was zoomed in because you were tiny. And so you would go and as you were playing the level, you would realize oh, this is a dinner table. Oh, this is a bathroom. This is a kitchen. That's what that kind of reminds. So were you like
No, it was just a big giant bathtub.
Just a big giant bathtub.
There's no Mario shrinking.
Was
like that.
Was the Bowser fight less annoying than the Bowser fights in 64?
I kind of like the Bowser fights in 64.
I do.
They are annoying.
I do, but they get once you figure them out, they're nothing.
Yeah. I would say the Mario 64 Bowser fights are
better
because there's a couple of them in that game. There's just one Bowser fight from what I remember.
Yeah,
Sunshine.
I think there's 3 Bowser fights, right? In 64.
Yeah,
like it because you have to get to a certain threshold of star, then you fight Bowser, then you get to another threshold of star, then you fight Bowser. Then
long Bowser.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, that's interesting.
But it's such a unique Mario game, and most people, because the GameCube was not a super successful system, so I can't imagine that many people played it.
I don't know why. Like it has a lot of games that people kind of call back to. That game, I remember Smash Brothers was kind of like a joke game that became something more, and then GameCube turned it into a fighting game.
GameCube turned Smash Brothers into what it is now. Because the first Smash Brothers game, we talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
I don't like the first Smash Brothers game.
I love it. Yeah, I can't help it. I'm just...
Well, yeah, it's not a bad game, but it plays so slow.
It's so much slower compared to the other ones.
And a lot of it is the nostalgia of having it, but it's such a limited game. There's not many characters. There's not many
and only
stages.
three of them are playable competitively.
And Smash Brothers Melee added so much. It added more characters, more stages, more game modes.
The graphic, it had CGI cutscenes.
I feel like, I see Super Smash Bros. The first one as being primarily a multiplayer game. There's not a lot of content for a single player run other than, well, I guess it wasn't classic mode then, but just the run through.
Yeah.
And Smash Bros. Melee has so much content. It has classic mode, it has adventure mode. If you are a lonely little kid who didn't have other people to play the game with, there was more than enough in that game to keep you content.
Yeah, the GameCube as a whole, I think, was
it's a great system,
underappreciated system. I never actually had the GameCube. I think me and my brother were pretty satisfied with the 64, but we also had all of our friends had GameCube, so we would go over that. That's how I got introduced to Melee. I went over to another friend's house, and that's part of the reason why I never played Sunshine, is because I never got GameCube. I went from 64 to Xbox, so that's a long time to wait for a new system. But 64, the games were great. So I Rogue Squadron and
Rogue.
Oh my!
That's
goodness.
the reason I got the GameCube was because of Rogue Leader. That game. There's a game I would like remade.
Yeah,
or would like at least some kind of port of it.
So there's a lot of GameCube games that could do justice on a remaster on Switch, but hey,
well, Nintendo's first party games are always great. Mm-hmm. As much as I like PlayStation, because PlayStation
when they care, because Star Fox Zero was not.
Oh, I hated that game.
I was so excited for it until it came out.
That like I said, that's another podcast in itself too.
Yeah.
But I don't like it. As much as I like the PlayStation, I can't, because I have that PlayStation Classic, and there's not many games on there that I would say. Games that are iconic, but also games that just haven't aged well. Whereas with N64, there's so many classic games on it. And with the GameCube, so many great Nintendo titles, so many great third-party titles.
Yeah.
What an amazing system the GameCube was.
I would say 64 is the one that everyone remembers, but GameCube, for everyone that had it, never forgotten.
I loved it. Because I had an Xbox too, and GameCube.
Yeah.
All the way.
Yeah.
Because apart from Halo, Xbox was...
That's a whole other...
But the third remaster is Super Mario Galaxy.
Yeah.
That game is amazing.
That game was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I went into it not knowing what to expect, and that was one of 4 games that I got with my Wii.
Yeah.
And like I don't like my parents certainly didn't do research. Like I'm sure like it was just like a bundle you got, and
Or we know who Mario is.
yeah, like in the bundle they got me, and these like the first three games I'm gonna name are incredible. I don't know how I lucked out and my parents happened to get me these amazing games, but they got me Mario Galaxy, Zelda Twilight Princess, and Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. And I picked up Mario Galaxy. I was like, yeah, this is fun. I played it and like I got it on Christmas, so I played it for like 2-3 hours straight. Yeah. And I was like, all right, I need a break. I need something else. Let me try Zelda. Like I haven't played a Zelda game since Majora's Mask. Let me see what this is about. Mm-hmm. And it surprisingly just very much hooked me. It was exactly what I wanted. It was perfectly different enough from Mario. And then I had never even played a single Metroid game, whether it was Super Metroid or Metroid Prime. And I turn on Metroid Prime Corruption, and that opening music, oh my god. And that game was incredible. But yeah, Mario Galaxy, the things they did with gravity and just messing around, because like there were certain levels where you were hopping from planet to planet or moon to moon or whatever, and like that was part of some of the puzzles in platforming, was how you could kind of control your gravity and keep yourself from touching the ground. And it was so rewarding when you figured out how something worked really well.
It was a big step up. It was a big step up in regards to ingenuity. Mario Sunshine is a good game, but it's structurally very similar to Mario 64, and I wouldn't really say that Sunshine is a great successor to 64. Galaxy is.
Yeah. It changed the game again.
Yeah. They completely changed how the game plays. That one is less of a sandbox game. It goes back more to the point A to point B, but I like that.
Yeah.
I actually prefer that. And it's not a flagpole at the end. You're still collecting stars. But I like the mixture that's in Mario Galaxy games, where it mixes the sandbox elements of games like 64 and Sunshine, but then reintroduces the obstacle course getting from point A to point B that you saw in the 2D Mario games. And it's just a big, lovely marriage of both of these, because you get little tiny bite-sized levels, you get some that are a little bigger and have more to do. I actually played Mario Galaxy 2 before the first one, because I didn't get a Wii until 2010. So I bought Mario Galaxy 2 first, loved it, and then bought the first one afterwards. And I do think Mario Galaxy 2 is a little better, but they're both great games.
Yeah, and my favorite thing about it is after you beat the game,
you
get Luigi, and it's not just, it's Mario with a new skin. Like, he legitimately played differently, whereas Mario is very, like, very typical. He jumps the distance he jumps, and he plays the way he plays. Luigi runs faster and jumps higher, but he's a lot harder to control because he slides.
So slippery.
He's so slippery, but that adds essentially he's a new difficulty level in the game.
Yeah, it was nice that they added Luigi back into the games too, because he's not in 64 or Sunshine at all.
Yeah.
So it was fun to see, because he's in Galaxy 2 as well.
It was a very pleasant surprise. Like, I wasn't expecting it, and then it happened, and I was overjoyed. I was completely overjoyed when it happened.
And with that one, they don't have to change anything about it.
No.
If it's in HD, if it's at a higher resolution, it's all you need to do.
I don't even know that I would notice that much. And like, again, they brought back the power-ups. You got the Fire Marios back, and like they had like the Boo Mario. There was the ice
Bumblebee suit.
There was Ice Mario too, right? Like there was an ice power-up. So so they not only they bring the power-ups back, but they added to them in a very interesting, and like, again, they were puzzle-solving elements. It wasn't just, get this power just to make enemies go away. Like, no, like, this power is going to help you get through this level, and you kind of need the power.
I do like that most of the power-ups are contained to one level. You don't carry them into other levels, and they do serve a purpose, like you said, beyond just killing enemies. I don't like Spring Mario. That's the one power up I hated. It's not even a power up. It's just Mario stuck in a big coil, and you have to. I hated that part of the game. That's the only power up I didn't like. If I had one complaint about Mario Galaxy, is fuck Spring Mario.
I mean, my one thing is like there was no Yoshi.
Yeah, there wasn't.
There was no Yoshi until the second Mario Galaxy game. But I mean, again, like it was a full enough game where I didn't notice it until I saw that he was in the second one, and I was like, oh yeah, there was no Yoshi.
Yeah.
In Mario Galaxy, but there was enough there that he wasn't needed.
No, and the Bowser fight in this game is very satisfying.
Very epic, yes.
After fighting him in a big giant bathtub,
yep,
this is a complete 180.
And he's a planet-sized Bowser, and like it's a very space. And again, it's not about Princess Peach from what I remember. It's about what's her name? Rosalina, right?
Well, Princess Peach still gets kidnapped in the game because it's Mario.
Yeah.
But
you have a
Rosalina is such a big character in the game, and that boss fight is appropriately.
She's a goddess, right? Like she's not a princess.
Yeah, you're not saving her.
Yeah,
so that's different.
She's a goddess. Why does she need to be saved?
Yeah. That was my one disappointment with
strong
Galaxy
female characters
2,
and what
is that she wasn't really in it till the very end. I liked Rosalina when
yeah.
she wasn't really in most of Mario Galaxy 2.
She's a good character. She's a good character for little girls to look up. Like that would be something that I would add is a playable Rosalina.
That would be fun.
Or even a playable Peach after you rescue her.
Rosalina is actually an unlockable
some female
character
representation
in 3D World.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Isn't she like unlockable in like some? Is it? I think it was like the updated Mario Strikers, maybe, where they were something like that. Like I think Rosalina becomes a character in a game that was recently like remastered.
Mario Kart.
Maybe.
I know that she's now joined that cast of Mario.
Yeah, now she's just there. She's in Smash. She's been in the last two Smash Brothers games.
Yeah,
so.
But Galaxy being ported onto the Switch makes the most sense to me because they really don't have to do anything to it.
Yeah.
Whereas with 64 and Sunshine, they would have to tweak a couple of things. I feel like they could obviously release both those games as is and people would still buy it and love it. But if they were going to go back and tweak any of these games, I would make some changes. Because you could turn a great but dated game into a spectacular, amazing game. You can take another game like Sunshine, which is good but has problems, and you could make that into a great game. Well, and what a better way to reintroduce a game that has been out of circulation for such a long time.
Well, you could make it palatable for newer audiences. So, like, these kids that have been playing, like, these games that are, like, above and beyond what we were playing when we were, like, first introduced to 3D platforming. Like, you could give them a reason to play it, because I imagine a kid, like a younger kid who is maybe born either in the late 90s or the early 2000s that's been hearing about Mario 64 or Mario Sunshine their entire childhood, and then they finally re-release it, but they've done nothing to it. They're going to be like, this is stupid.
Yeah, it's not going to appeal to little kids because too much time has passed.
And they've experienced such great games.
Because I feel like with the NES and SNES being on the Switch, I feel like kids could get into some of those more games because they're more simplistic.
Yeah.
I think that those games have a pretty lasting appeal to them. Whereas early 3D games are almost... Maybe this is an apples and oranges comparison, but they're almost like Atari games in the sense that they're like... It's the beginning of something, but it's a very rudimentary and simplistic and flawed interpretation of that.
It's like Duck Hunt versus like House of the Dead.
I mean, even it's getting to the it's even getting to the point where like, you know, GameCube and PlayStation 2 games are starting to get dated. I was playing that Warriors game the other day.
Yeah,
I love that movie, and I'm sure at the time it was a good game. It's really dated and not much fun to play now. So with Mario 64, I still think it's fun, but update it so that newer generations can experience this game and love it as much as we did when we were younger. Because I agree with what you said. If you put a little kid in front of Mario 64, they're either going to look at it with disgust, saying, "Why does this look so ugly?"
Where's Luigi? Where's
We're gonna
Yoshi?
be bored.
Yeah.
I did like in Mario Odyssey that the Super Mario 64 polygon was a costume you could unlock.
That's pretty cool.
Because Mario Odyssey, I would say, is really the spiritual successor to 64, more so than Sunshine, Galaxy, and the 3D Land and World games.
Mm-hmm. They were definitely going for like this is the
more
new
of a
64.
sandbox.
Yeah.
There's Peach's Castle, the Mushroom Kingdom, which looks a lot like the hub world in Mario 64.
Mm-hmm.
You have the same types of coins that were in that game, where they're like little stars on the inside.
Yep.
And when you get stars in the Mushroom Kingdom in Odyssey, it actually does the victory music for Mario 64. It's like, yep. I was like, oh, I love this. There's a hidden room in the castle that looks just like Mario 64, like polygons and all.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved in Super Mario Galaxy 2, there was Throwback Galaxy, which was the first level from Mario 64, but redone with the newer updated graphics. That, to me, was the first small taste
something here
of what a Super Mario 64 remake could look like. They redid the music, like...
Honestly, just give it the same control scheme and like layout as Odyssey and just give us 64. We would love it.
I would love it.
Yeah.
So I hope that these rumors are true. And unfortunately, I think that the Super Mario 64 remake is more of a pipe dream than something that Nintendo will actually do. Like, never say never, maybe, but probably not. And then with them saying that they're going to port 3D World, it would be like a deluxe edition with new levels. I see that as being something that they will do.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't...
It's one of the few Wii U games, or one of the big Wii U games they haven't ported yet.
I didn't love those games, but it was only because I was expecting it to be like Galaxy or like 64. And it was, and like that, it doesn't have to be, like, it's definitely doing its own thing, so I might need to revisit it in a more like open-minded fashion.
I really like 3D World, but I understand what you're saying. It's not a very ambitious game. It doesn't have the ambition of a game like Galaxy, and you would think for the first HD Mario game that they were going to do something like Odyssey. They were really going to swing for the fences, come out with this big, huge Mario game. So it was disappointing that it was a sequel to the 3DS Mario game.
Yeah.
But it's still a fun game. And the multiplayer aspect is fun, and I like that even if you play it solo, you can choose which character you want. You don't have to play as Mario.
Yeah.
Even if you're playing it solo, you could play as Peach, Luigi, Toad, and you can unlock Rosalina. So
that's what I was thinking.
Like, I like those games, but my complaint about the both of them is that they're a little easy. By both, I mean 3D Land and 3D World. They're both a little easy, and they're both a little short.
Yeah.
They're not very long games. A game like Mario Galaxy can take a while to beat. It doesn't take a long time to beat the main story, but if you want to get all the stars, it takes a while. And Odyssey takes a while to beat. The 3D Land and 3D World games you could probably beat in a day, at least the main story, and then even the bonus stuff on top of that is not going to take you a very long time. But it's a fun game, and it has... I understand what you're saying. It's not the Mario game I wanted. When I first saw the trailer to it, I was disappointed that they were doing something that seemed a lot more low-key. It seemed like they were playing it very safe. But it's a fun game.
I mean, the one thing I will say about it is I didn't really, quote-unquote, pay for it. Like, it was... I remember.
System.
Yeah, I remember when you got the Wii U, you could choose which bundle you wanted. And, like, I think the other one was Mario Kart. I've never been a huge fan of Mario Kart because I have older siblings and they never let me forget when I lose, which is perfectly fine.
Mario Party.
Yeah, Mario Party. But so yeah, I got 3D World. Thinking like, oh cool, I get this this new Mario game. It's probably gonna be like Galaxy because I had Galaxy for the Wii, so the Wii U Galaxy was gonna be awesome. And then like a few months later, the actual Galaxy 2 came out, and I was very disappointed. But no, that's fine. Like I would be very excited if they came out with any kind of Mario collection, and they remastered the games, or like just a remaster and a complete overhaul of Mario 64 would be much appreciated. More so than the Sunshine and Galaxy for me, because again, I don't think that those games necessarily need to be completely rebuilt. Like maybe
No.
like Sunshine needs a little bit of adjustments with the controls, but Galaxy to me is an excellent game.
It's
like
perfect.
I would play it again today
Yeah.
on the current graphics. So I would just really like to see like a Mario 64 done in the Mario Odyssey, Mario Galaxy kind of like fashion and control scheme.
But that's the beauty of Mario, is that even the lesser Mario games are not bad.
Yeah.
Of the mainline Mario games, not the spin-offs like Mario Kart and the like, there is not a single bad game in that entire collection. There are some that are okay or decent, but I would say at the absolute worst, a Mario game is okay. There's not a single bad mainstream Mario game. Unlike Sonic, where there's a lot of bad Sonic games. But with Mario, because they don't come out all the time, and Nintendo...
It's an event.
Yeah, it's an event. Nintendo gives the game the time it needs.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, you're always getting quality Mario games. You might only get them once a console generation. Think about the Mario games. Mario 64 is the only Mario game that came out on N64. Sunshine was the only one on GameCube. The Wii got lucky because the Wii had Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 and had New Super Mario Bros. Wii, which is a very different style. I mean, it's a throwback to the side-scrolling Mario games, but you got 3 Mario games for Wii, and then for Wii U, you got another New Super Mario Bros., and you got 3D Land, and Odyssey is out now for the Switch, and I feel like we will get another new 3D Mario game for the Switch, just because Nintendo seems to want to support this console for the long run.
I think Odyssey 2 or something to that effect will come out.
I think it'll be Odyssey 2. I would love a Galaxy 3. I don't think that would happen. I think
they're kind of done with that franchise.
Yeah. I think Nintendo, with the Mario games at least, kind of move on. I think the reason Galaxy got a sequel on the Wii was because...
It came out so late, too.
Yeah. And that game was such a hit, they had more ideas with it, but that game now is almost 10 years old.
Was there...
It is 10 years old, actually.
There was no Wii U version of that, right?
They ported Mario Galaxy and Galaxy. I think you could buy them digitally in the Wii's eShop.
Like 3D, like that's like I thought 3D World was gonna be that. It was like, oh, this is the next step in the Mario, like from Mario Galaxy, but then it wasn't.
No.
So and then like Odyssey was obviously, but maybe it just took longer, and maybe the Wii U was less impressive than like we thought it was. Like maybe the Wii U wasn't really that different than the Wii.
I think that a year into the Wii U, Nintendo probably realized that it wasn't going to work.
They just stopped making good games for that system.
As soon as Smash Bros. For Wii U came out,
they wiped their hands of it.
Yeah, they just ramped things way down. They're like, well, we're going to focus on the next system. And I like the Wii U.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they even they postponed Zelda, which was a great idea.
That was a good choice.
Because it wound up being the masterpiece that it is.
Yeah, and if they put it out they did put it on Wii U, but if they just put it out on Wii U, they would have wasted a masterpiece on a game for a console that, I think you and I had and nobody else did.
Yeah.
And I like the Wii U. It's not a bad console, but I think Nintendo knew very early on, this is a bust.
The best 2 games on it are Smash and Zelda. Zelda's also on Switch.
Yeah. I would argue that Super Mario Maker great for Wii
was
U
great.
Because I think the biggest problem with the Wii U is that no one knew how to use the gamepad or integrate it well into games.
Yeah.
But Mario Maker used it perfectly because you could use that touch screen, or the panel screen, and the stylus to design the levels, and it works so much better than Mario Maker 2, which is a good game, but not having that second screen anymore is inconvenient, and there's no stylus that comes with the Switch. You could buy one, but it seemed more seamless.
Can you draw right on, like, if you have it portable? Can you draw right on the screen?
Yeah,
That's cool.
But it was nice to be able to do that and also look at a big screen at the same time. I just think the way the game is designed, it lent itself so much more to the Wii U's design. And for a system where no one could figure out how the hell to use that gamepad, that was a game where they figured out exactly how to use it.
Yeah, the Wii U was a lot of re-releases too.
Yeah.
Like they did Metroid Prime Trilogy.
I think that was for the Wii. They did put it. I think it was
Trilogy,
a
was
digitally.
Yeah, digitally. There was a lot of digital releases.
Because the Switch has been getting a lot of ports.
Yep.
Even from Nintendo, not just from third-party companies putting their stuff on there. Nintendo has ported most of the quality games from the Wii U's library onto the Switch already. And it feels like this year they're probably just going to keep doing that. I mean, they put Animal Crossing out. And they're because they're putting out Xenoblade Chronicles, which is because that game I think was remade for Nintendo 3DS too, and now they're remaking it again for the Switch. So if they can remake Xenoblade Chronicles twice, there is no reason that Mario 64 shouldn't get the full remake it deserves.
Well, they've also just reported so many mature games which no one thought that they would do. And then they were like, yeah, we're going to do The Witcher. Yeah, we're going to do Darksiders. Yeah, we're going to do all these mature games. And it's so like it gives me hope for like this. I mean, again, the system's doing very well. Like I'm definitely enjoying my time with it. Like I enjoy playing older games that I loved on the first Xbox that I'm replaying on the Switch because again, like I'm not necessarily all about the game with the best amount of graphics or the most innovative gameplay that I've never played anywhere else. Like there's some games that are never going to leave me because if I've just had so much fun playing them, then I'm going to play them forever. Like I think Prototype might be one of my favorite games of all time because of just how fun the gameplay is to me personally. Like they re-released Assassin's Creed 3, which is probably my top 2 favorite Assassin's Creed games. Like I think it goes 2 and 3 for me. And then like they re-released a few other things as well that I just have general interest. Like I got Saints, like the 4th Saints Row for it, and because like I never got to play that originally, and that's a great console for that. It's like this game that I never got. Like I would love a Sunshine port because I never got to play Sunshine. Yeah. So I'd like to actually experience that game.
Nintendo is one of those companies that is just sitting on a gold mine of classic games. Yeah. And I like my Switch as a library of older games. I like that you can get like the Castlevania collection and the Mega Man collection. You can get games from like the NES era, the SNES era. You can get games that, you know, Nintendo missed out on for like the PlayStation 2 era and for the PlayStation 3 era. Because they're putting out, BioShock and Borderlands, XCOM. They announced all that stuff recently, and like I like that. I like you can rag on the Switch and say that it gets a lot of ports of games, but I don't see a problem with that because you're getting these classic games you love, and you can play them on the go. Yeah, you can play them wherever you want. You can take a shit and play BioShock Infinite.
And if I was to ever have kids, like I would love to have a Switch system where it's like, because I'm definitely going to play, I am playing video games as an adult. Yeah. So I would, like, if I was to ever have kids and, like, maybe I didn't want them to experience, you know, people getting gutted and their heads cut off because of, like, all the super mature games that come out for the Xbox and PlayStation, I would give them a Switch. And, like, if you're going on a long road trips, like, you can't play Xbox on a road trip, but you can play a Switch. Yeah. And you could just give a kid like a portable Switch and they could play any amount of games. You get a big enough hard drive. You could literally have dozens of games on there that have hours worth of gameplay, like days worth of gameplay in even some cases. So I really hope that these rumors are somewhat true, more so for 64 than any of the others. Like I would very much like a fully redone Mario 64 with possibly some new characters, definitely some new gameplay mechanics and controls, and, you know, maybe even some of the power-ups that they have from the newer games.
I mean, also, for indie games, the Switch is perfect.
Yeah.
It's just a match made in heaven. And then the last two parts of that rumor were the possibility of a new Paper Mario game this year.
Okay.
Because I heard other rumors at the beginning of this year that about Paper Mario and that there might be a 2D Metroid coming out, but I would say those are more Reddit, some person posted it, than something that a lot of gaming websites reported on.
Yeah.
I mean, with Paper Mario, I think it's fine. I've never been... I know Thousand Year Door is the big Paper Mario game. I've never played it. I've never been a huge fan of Paper Mario, but I do know that people don't like the newer ones that came out, Sticker Star and I think Color Splash.
Yeah.
I actually did play Sticker Star for 3DS, and I kind of liked it. It was okay. I get why people don't like it because of the battle system, and you don't have sidekicks like you could have in the first two Paper Mario games. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is, but if they were to do a return to form, I think that's great. I would have some interest in the game depending on how it looked. I wouldn't just reject it out of hand, but that's probably the least exciting part of those rumors to me. And like I said, I have respect for the franchise. If you're a fan of Paper Mario, I think that's great. But I can't say that my jaw would drop to the floor if they announced a new Paper Mario game.
Yeah. All right. Well.
And the other thing, did you see those Lego Mario sets they're coming out with?
Like it's not a video game. Like it's a legitimate Lego set.
It's like an interactive... You should watch the video for it because it's like the Mario, I guess, has batteries in it because it interacts with some of the different pieces.
Yeah.
Because like the eyes are completely animated when it's on, but I would imagine when you turn that thing off, how creepy it's going to look.
Yeah, if you just have eyes floating.
Eye holes on Mario. I mean, it's not something I'm going to buy, but I think it's a kind of a cool idea because it's not just I don't think that Mario characters would look that great as Lego minifigures.
Yeah.
So I like what they did with it, where they're built out of Lego bricks.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the only thing that Nintendo has officially announced is that they're making Lego sets. So all this other stuff is completely speculation, but...
All right, well, here's the hoping that they actually, do completely redo a Mario 64.
Yep.
Possibly a Sunshine, and then just updating the graphics, a Galaxy, maybe adding a character or two.
I want something new to play Nintendo. I'm sick of Animal Crossing.
Help us, Nintendo. You're our only hope.